April 13th, 1921. Colorado Springs sits at the base of Pikes Peak, 14,000 feet of granite rising into clouds that have been gathering since dawn. The air smells of wet pine and coal smoke. Along Tejon Street, wooden storefronts creak in the wind. Horses stamp on dirt roads still muddy from yesterday's melt. It's spring in the Rockies. Snow is expected. A few inches, maybe half a foot, nothing unusual for April. But the sky over Pikes Peak is darkening in a way the older ranchers recognize. The pressure is dropping. That particular stillness has settled over the valley, the kind that makes animals restless and makes telegraph wires hum with a frequency that feels wrong. By noon, the first flakes are falling. Wide, heavy, the kind of snow that doesn't drift, it accumulates. At the Colorado Midland Railway Depot, workers watch the clouds descend like a curtain. Trains are still running, but the dispatchers are already nervous. Spring storms in Colorado don't follow rules. They appear without warning, dump their load and vanish. Or they settle in and bury everything. This one is settling in. By 2 in the afternoon, visibility drops to a few yards. The flakes are coming faster now, thick as cotton. Shop owners stand in doorways, watching the street disappear. Children are called inside. Horses are stabled early. The mountain has vanished entirely. Even the buildings across the street are fading into white. This is not a typical storm. Colorado's spring storms are deceptive. They carry moisture from the Pacific, slam into the Rockies, and dump it all at once. Pikes Peak's eastern face acts like a wall, forcing air upward, cooling it rapidly, wringing out every drop of water as snow. In 1921, there is no radar, no satellite imagery, no 7-day forecast. Meteorology is in its infancy. Weather predictions come from telegraph operators sharing observations, barometer readings passed from station to station. A storm like this can appear in hours. The warning signs are there for those who know how to read them. The sudden drop in temperature, the thickness of the clouds, the way the wind shifts and then stops entirely. But most people in Colorado Springs are expecting a routine snowfall. The city's infrastructure certainly is. Homes are built with thin walls and minimal insulation. Roofs are designed to shed summer rain, not hold tons of wet snow. The railway system, which connects Colorado Springs to Denver and the mountain mining towns, runs on steam engines that can be choked by deep drifts. Coal deliveries, food shipments, passenger service, all of it depends on keeping the tracks clear. By evening, 6 inches have fallen. By midnight, 2 feet. The snow is dense, heavy with moisture. It doesn't blow away, it piles. Pikes Peak's geography creates localized bands of extreme snowfall. While Denver, 70 miles north, receives only a few inches, Colorado Springs is being buried. The snow accumulates faster than anyone can measure it. By dawn on April 14th, 4 feet have fallen, and it's still coming down. William Hutchins is a telegraph operator for the Colorado Midland Railway. His office sits in a small wooden building near the tracks, warmed by a coal stove and lit by a single oil lamp. Through the night of April 13th, he's been tapping out messages to stations up and down the line. The snow is worse than expected. Trains are stalling. The eastbound freight is stuck near Cascade. The passenger train from Leadville hasn't reported in 2 hours. By midnight, the wires start going down. Poles are snapping under the weight of snow and ice. Hutchins can hear them breaking in the distance, sharp cracks like rifle shots, then silence. He keeps sending as long as he can. Track blocked at milepost 47. Send rotary plow if possible. No response from Woodland Park. Around 3 in the morning, his line goes dead. Outside, the snow is halfway up the windows. The sound of it hitting the roof is constant, a soft, relentless percussion. The door is already blocked. Hutchins feeds more coal into the stove and waits. He's not trapped, not yet, but he's alone. The town is invisible, the railway is paralyzed, and the snow is still falling at a rate of 3 inches per hour. Hutchins will later describe the silence as the most unsettling part. In a railway depot, there's always sound: trains, telegraph keys, voices. But that night, with the lines down and the trains stopped and the world buried, there was nothing. Just the snow muffling everything, pressing down on the roof, turning day into night. He burned paperwork to keep the stove going. He melted snow for water. He waited for the sound of shovels, for rescue, for the storm to break. It took 2 days. The mechanics of a 6-foot snowfall are brutal. A cubic foot of wet spring snow weighs roughly 20 pounds. A roof measuring 20 by 30 feet is holding 36,000 pounds of snow. That's 18 tons pressing down on wooden beams designed for rain and wind, not the equivalent of a small truck. Across Colorado Springs and the surrounding ranches, roofs begin to fail. Barns collapse first. Their wide, unsupported spans can't handle the load. Livestock trapped inside are buried. Ranchers who try to dig them out find themselves chest-deep in snow, unable to move, unable to see more than a few feet in any direction. The railway's steam engines are choking. Snow clogs the fireboxes. Drifts pile higher than the locomotive cabs. The rotary plows, massive machines with spinning blades designed to chew through snow, can't keep up. They cut a path, and within an hour it's filled again. Telegraph poles snap in sequence, dominoes falling along the mountain passes. Without communication, towns go silent. Colorado Springs loses contact with Woodland Park, with Cascade, with the mining camps higher up. There's no way to know who needs help, who's injured, who's running out of food or fuel. Coal deliveries stop. In 1921, coal powers everything: stoves, furnaces, boilers. Homes that run out start burning furniture, floorboards, anything that will keep a fire going. Temperatures inside drop below freezing. Roads are impassable, not buried, erased. 6-foot drifts don't look like snow. They look like hills, smooth and featureless. Landmarks disappear. Fences vanish. Entire streets become blank corridors of white. Rescue crews try to move through the drifts on foot, but the snow is too deep and too soft. They sink to their waists with every step. Progress is measured in yards, not miles. The storm finally breaks on the morning of April 15th. 48 hours, 6 feet of snow, and the damage is only beginning to show. When the sun rises on April 15th, Pikes Peak glows gold above a buried town. The sky is clear. The air is still. The silence is absolute. Colorado Springs is unrecognizable. Buildings are half buried. Telephone poles lean at impossible angles or lie snapped across the drifts. The streets are gone, replaced by a smooth white landscape broken only by chimneys and rooftops. Neighbors begin digging. Not with plows or machinery. There isn't any that can move through this. They dig by hand, carving paths between homes, tunneling through drifts to reach the elderly, the isolated, the ones who didn't have enough coal to make it through. At the railway depot, crews work in shifts to clear the tracks. It will take a week to restore service to Denver, longer to reach the mountain towns. Trains are stranded in snowbanks, passengers sleeping in unheated cars, burning ticket stubs and luggage to stay warm. In the ranching communities east of the city, the losses are staggering. Entire herds of cattle, buried in drifts, suffocated or frozen. Barns collapsed, crushing equipment and animals. Families that depended on livestock sales for the year are ruined. Miners at remote camps carve tunnels through the snow to reach water sources. Some camps won't be reached for another week. When rescue crews finally arrive, they find men who have been rationing food, melting snow, sleeping in shifts to keep the fires going. The human cost is measured not just in deaths, though there are deaths, but in the quiet accumulation of loss. Buildings gone, animals gone, savings wiped out, months of recovery ahead. But there's resilience too. The neighbors who dug for days, the railway workers who cleared the tracks one shovel at a time, the families who shared their last coal, their last food, knowing the roads wouldn't open for weeks. Colorado Springs endured, not because it had to, because that's what people do when the mountain buries them. The 1921 Pikes Peak snowstorm remains one of Colorado's heaviest single-day snowfalls on record, 6 feet in 24 hours. Some higher elevations recorded 8. But for decades, it was barely mentioned outside local archives. The early reports were incomplete, telegraph lines went down, and newspapers in Denver and beyond had to rely on delayed accounts. By the time the full scope of the disaster was clear, the news cycle had moved on. What the storm did change was infrastructure. The Colorado Midland Railway, already struggling financially, began investing in heavier rotary plows and reinforced snow sheds over exposed track. Other rail lines in the Rockies followed suit. Spring storms were no longer treated as minor inconveniences. Local building codes shifted too, though slowly. Roof pitches increased. Load-bearing requirements were reconsidered. The idea that spring snow could be as dangerous as winter blizzards became accepted wisdom. In the decades that followed, a few survivor accounts were preserved in county historical societies. Letters, diary entries, oral histories recorded in the 1970s from the last people who remembered. They described the darkness at midday, the sound of buildings collapsing in the distance, the feeling of being cut off, not just from the world, but from the street next door. One account from a schoolteacher in Manitou Springs described sheltering 12 students overnight when the roads became impassable. She kept them calm by having them sing, quietly, while the snow piled against the windows. In the morning, parents dug a trench to the schoolhouse door. Every child made it home. Storm didn't define Colorado Springs, but it's there in the memory of the place, in the way older buildings are reinforced, in the stories passed down, in the knowledge that the mountain giveth and the mountain taketh away, and there's not much you can do but keep the fire burning and wait for the sun. April 16, 1921. Morning light on 6-foot drifts. Smoke rising from chimneys in thin, steady columns. Neighbors standing in paths carved between homes, leaning on shovels, breathing hard. Pikes Peak stands clear and golden against a blue sky. The storm is over. The digging is just beginning. Somewhere in the railway depot, William Hutchins steps outside for the first time in 2 days. The world is white and silent and impossibly bright. He looks toward the mountain, then down at the buried tracks, then back toward town. A crew is already working, shovels scraping, voices calling, the slow, steady work of recovery. No speeches, no declarations, just the sound of people moving snow, one shovel at a time until the town reappears. The storm is remembered not for what it destroyed, but for what it didn't. Colorado Springs buried, but not broken.